Do you remember those winter mornings from your childhood? The world outside was a wonderland of white, hushed and still under a blanket of fresh snow. But inside, there was a different kind of magic. It was the magic of warmth, a gentle, steady heat that wrapped around you like a hug, chasing away the chill from your fingertips and toes. It was the sound of the furnace humming softly in the background, a quiet promise that everything was safe, everything was cozy. It was the feeling of home. For 72-year-old Walter Green, that feeling was as familiar as his own reflection. Every winter for as long as he could remember, he'd come in from the biting cold, his cheeks rosy and his breath misting in the air, and the first thing to greet him would be that comforting wave of warmth. It was a constant, a given, a part of the very fabric of his life. Today was no different. The first snowflakes of the season were beginning to drift down, painting the town in soft strokes of white. Walter pushed open his front door, a familiar creak echoing in the quiet hall. And there it was, that reliable, life-giving warmth. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting it seep into his bones, a small smile playing on his lips. But as he began to unbutton his coat, he noticed something unusual on a small table by the door. Lying next to the usual stack of mail was a single, elegant envelope. It had no stamp, no address, just his name, Walter, written in a graceful, looping script. His brow furrowed in curiosity. Who could have left this? He picked it up. The paper felt thick and expensive between his fingers. He carefully broke the seal and unfolded the single sheet inside. The message was short, just two simple questions that sent a shiver down his spine, a shiver that had nothing to do with the cold outside. It read, "That warmth you feel, the one that has kept you safe every winter of your life. Do you know her name? Do you know the woman who gave you this comfort?" Walter read the words again, and then a third time, "The woman." He looked around his empty house, at the radiators humming quietly along the walls. He thought of the furnace in the basement, a sturdy metal beast he'd had serviced just last month. It was a machine, an invention. What did a woman have to do with it? The question was absurd, yet it lodged itself in his mind, refusing to be dismissed. He walked over to the window and watched the snow fall, his thoughts churning. All his life he'd taken this warmth for granted. It was simply there, like the sun rising in the morning or the stars appearing at night. He had never once stopped to think about where it came from. Not the gas company, not the pipes, but the idea itself. Who first dreamed of capturing fire and taming it, of piping warmth through the very veins of a house? The mysterious letter felt like a challenge, a riddle whispered from the past. The woman who gave you this comfort. The words echoed in his head. He had to know. The feeling was sudden and overwhelming, a deep-seated need to uncover the answer. Walter put his coat back on, his movements now filled with a sense of purpose. He knew where he had to go. The town library, a place of answers, a sanctuary of stories waiting to be discovered. The library was quiet, filled with the gentle rustle of turning pages and the scent of old paper and wood polish. Mrs. Gable, the librarian, a kind woman with eyes that had seen decades of stories come and go, looked up from her desk as Walter approached. "Walter," she said with a warm smile, "it's been a while. What brings you out on a day like this?" Walter placed the mysterious letter on her desk. "I have a question, Eleanor, a strange one." He explained the letter, the baffling question, and the sudden burning curiosity it had ignited within him. Mrs. Gable read the note, her expression thoughtful. "The woman who gave you this comfort," she murmured, tapping a finger on the paper. "You're talking about central heating. A furnace." "Exactly," Walter said, "but the letter says her, a woman." Mrs. Gable's eyes lit up with the familiar spark of a puzzle about to be solved. She beckoned him to follow her, leading him deep into the reference section. Two shelves filled with dusty encyclopedias and patent records. For the next hour they searched. They looked through books on industrial inventors, pioneers of engineering, the great men whose names were etched into the cornerstones of modern life. They found plenty of names, but none that fit the riddle. Walter was starting to feel discouraged. Maybe it was just a prank, a strange joke. But Mrs. Gable was not one to give up, so I said, "Let's try a different approach," she said, her voice full of renewed energy. She turned to a computer, her fingers flying across the keyboard, navigating the digital archives. She typed in keywords: heating, furnace, patent, woman. For a long time, the screen showed nothing promising. Then she paused. "Wait a minute," she whispered, leaning closer to the screen. "Here, I think I've found something." Walter leaned in beside her. On the screen was a scanned document, a patent application from the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And at the top, a name, Alice H. Parker. Mrs. Gable read aloud, her voice filled with reverence. Walter stared at the name, Alice H. Parker. It was a name he had never heard before. He looked closer at the document. The invention was described as a heating furnace. The diagrams showed a revolutionary new system, one that used natural gas and a series of ducts to distribute warm air throughout a building. It was a safer, more efficient alternative to the wood and coal-burning fireplaces that were common at the time. It was, in essence, the blueprint for the modern central heating system that warmed his home right now. "A black woman," Mrs. Gable said softly, pointing to a small biographical note linked to the patent. "An inventor from Morristown, New Jersey. She conceived of this system because she felt her own fireplace was not effective enough at warming her home through the cold New Jersey winters. The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place. Walter felt a profound sense of awe wash over him. This woman, Alice H. Parker, over 100 years ago, had looked at the world and imagined a better way. She had dreamed of a deeper, more reliable warmth, and then she had used her mind, her ingenuity, to make that dream a reality. He thought back to his own life. Every snowy Christmas morning, every time he'd come home shivering from a winter walk, every quiet evening spent reading by the window, safe from the storms outside. All of those moments, all of that comfort, all of that security, he owed it to her, to a woman whose name he had never known until this very moment. She wasn't just an inventor. She was the architect of his comfort, the unseen guardian against the winter's cold. The warmth in his home was not just a product of gas and metal. It was the enduring legacy of her brilliance, her vision. The letter suddenly made perfect sense. It wasn't a riddle. It was an invitation to be grateful. A deep, quiet gratitude filled Walter's heart, so powerful it almost brought tears to his eyes. He felt connected to this woman from the past, bound by the simple, profound gift of warmth she had given to the world, to him. He thanked Mrs. Gable, his voice thick with emotion. He didn't need to take the information with him. The name was now etched into his memory, as permanent as the feeling of warmth itself. As Walter stepped out of the library, the snow was falling more heavily now, each flake a tiny, perfect crystal. The air was cold on his face, but he barely noticed. He felt a different kind of warmth now, a warmth that came from within. It was the warmth of knowledge, of connection, of a debt of gratitude finally understood. He started the walk home, his footsteps quiet on the fresh snow, and as he walked, he whispered the name into the winter air, a soft tribute carried away on the wind. Alice H. Parker, thank you. From that day on, the gentle hum of the furnace in his home was no longer just a sound. It was a story. It was a reminder of the quiet, brilliant woman who, over a century ago, made every winter of his life a little warmer, a little brighter, and a lot more comfortable. And it's a name none of us should ever forget. Thank you for watching. If this story touched you, please consider liking and subscribing for more stories that uncover the hidden histories that shape our world. Stay warm and stay curious.